In the past, I have bought video game consoles or accessories or things along those lines that didn't work, and they were advertised as broken or for parts only or things like that. And I've kind of had the mindset of maybe I can go ahead and repair this and get a good deal on something, just put a little bit of labor into it. One of my not so recent purchases was this here. This is the Evercade EXP, and this is their second generation handheld system, and it's fantastic. The problem with this particular system is it has a battery issue. See, some of the early Evercade EXPs, when they shipped, they didn't hold a charge. And it's one of those things that for people who bought them new, warranty replacements. Well, I bought this for under 50 bucks on eBay over a year ago now, and I've been trying to get my hands on a replacement battery. Well, through a source, through back channel sort of things, I've been able to actually get my hands on a replacement battery for this. So we're going to open this up. We're going to see how difficult this is. I'm hoping that this is like changing a battery on a cordless phone. And for those of you who don't know, a cordless phone was something that you actually had in your house tied to a landline. It wasn't a cell phone. People of a certain age get that joke. I am hoping that I can get this thing working. Let's go ahead, let's bust it open, let's see what we can get done. So let's give you a look at what this system is doing, because it's really weird. As you can see, the red light is on down here, and I can turn the system on and it'll work okay, right? If I disconnect the power cable, you can see the light just went out. Go ahead and try to power it on. I get a green light for a moment. We'll wait a second, see what happens. Light went out. So my understanding is that a number of these shipped right out of the box with a bad battery. And actually it wasn't the battery itself, but it was the circuitry attached to the battery that handled charging. So we're going to take this apart and see what we can find out here. Now, one thing of note, this will void your warranty, but if this is happening to you, contact Evercade or Blaze Entertainment, and they should be able to take care of you. Now, one thing too, I can hear an electronic like a whine, which tells me that the system is still on, so we're going to make sure it's powered off, and now it's off. And we're going to pull the little rubber plugs out of here, and thankfully it looks like the screws are just regular Phillips heads, so nothing like no tri-wing or any special kind of connector required. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've got one here that didn't come out. There we go. Now we do need to separate the case halves. I'm going to just use my fingernail. First of all, I'll see if I can do it. Otherwise, I'll get my spudger out. Yeah, looking like I'm going to need my spudger. And all a spudger is a little pry tool to get into places like this and kind of release clips. Come on, you. And careful, as the buttons will probably fall on the inside. Here the buttons kind of rattling around. And it looks like we did break a clip right there, so that's something you do want to be aware of. And there is the ribbon cable here that connects to the display. We're just going to pop that up. We're going to set the faceplate aside because we don't need to do anything with this. And if you look underneath here, you can see the existing battery here. Let's give you a closer look. So you see the little kind of gold right there and the silver down below. That's the battery. So we're going to just work on this side here, which is the right rear side of the system. What we're going to do, we're going to disconnect the Wi-Fi antenna. There we go. And we're going to undo that ZIF connector right there. And now we have 1, 2, looks like 3 screws holding this piece down to the chassis. I'm hoping with this whole unit will pop right out. Looking very promising. Yes! Okay. Now I do have to be careful because one of the other shoulder buttons popped out right here. I do think we are going to have to remove the main board here to flip it over. I thought that we might have access to the battery connector, but we don't. That's actually the speaker connector right there. So we have an additional 1, 2, 3, 4 screws. And we're also going to go ahead, I'm just going to pop this guy off. Well, I don't want to damage that, and I don't know that I need to take that off, so we'll see what we can get here. Since we've got that connector there disconnected, should be able to just flip that board over, I'm hoping. And let's see if we can't pop it off using our spudger here. There we go, come on. This looks like it's hung up back here. There we go, come on you. Just that way we're not putting too much pressure on it. Boom, that's out. I wonder, oh, I'm probably gonna, because of that, I'm gonna have to take that out. Crap, I didn't want to have to do that, but I guess I have to. So yeah, this copper plate here, this heatsink is what it looks like. It's tied down by this board here. I was hoping I didn't have to take all 3 boards out, but I do. It's kind of like who needs the Quickie Mart. I do. You should be able to pop that board right out, and it does. And yeah, as you can see, this was right under that board, which was keeping it in place. And now we have the main board out, or at least freed. And then here's our battery connector right there going to the battery pack. And it should be a pretty simple, just uninstall or disconnect and reinstall. Let's see, I didn't want to use something metal, but we may have to just see if we can. There we go. Okay. Battery is out there. And my understanding is there's double-sided tape underneath here to keep the original battery onto the chassis. Oh yeah. Big old glob of double-sided tape right there. So from my understanding, let's give you a closer look here. So for those who have never seen a lithium-based battery before like this charging circuit here is what basically ensures that the battery is not over-discharged or overcharged. There is a capacitor on, I believe it's under this Krypton tape on the back side here, that can sometimes short out. So what we're going to do, we actually have a new battery that we're going to try. So one of the things we're going to do with the original battery, we're going to just label it so that way we know which is the old one and which is the new one. Now this one, it actually may look like DVD versus old, but that's why I marked it both sides. Now taking a look here between the old one and our new one, as you can see, they're actually labeled differently, where this has an actual label on it and this just has the printing on the outside of the shrink wrap. I do want to make sure the polarity is the same because weird things have happened. And yep, polarity on the connectors is just fine. They are the same, so good to see. Now one final thing, they did not include an extra little sticky tab. I could try to peel that one off. I'm not going to do that. I'm actually just going to put a small piece of double-sided tape on that. And then we'll peel the backing paper off in just a second. First thing that I am going to do though is I'm going to plug this into that. Go. I'm going to make sure we've got our wires and ports and everything kind of where they need to be. Let's get that all lined up. it's not going, don't force it. Like right here, I can see those two holes are not properly aligned. So we're gonna get everything aligned up here. We may have to grab the spudger again just to free it back up, to move it over. We don't want to break the board. And then we will use the 4 screws here. Now, one thing of note, whenever you thread back into plastic like this, unscrew first. That'll get the threads to kind of reseat, and then you'll kind of feel it clunk into place. I apologize, my hands are in the way. And then you can start screwing in. This way you are cutting, or this way you are not cutting new threads, you are basically threading into the existing ones. Now, before we put the boards back in, we are going to peel off the backing on the double-sided tape and tape the battery down. Make sure too that you're not pinching any wires like the speaker wires or anything. You know, the whole thing is to get this working as it should be, and you don't want to cause other issues, right? Right. And before we tighten this back down, we are going to reinstall the ZIF connector here. These can be fun. By fun, I mean not at all. There we go. Got that back into place. We'll close that connector. Don't like that. It's kind of at an angle. You can see the line there, hopefully, how it's at a bit of an angle. So we're going to loosen this, push it back in, just to make sure it's square. As Huey Lewis told us, it is hip to be square. I'll pop this back out for a second. I'm actually going to route the speaker wires where they are not pinched. There we go. Same thing here. We'll put the screws in. You don't have to go gonzo on these guys. Don't torque them down. Just snug them down. You'll be good to go. Now flip it around. We will get the other side in. My only concern is that double-sided tape that I use is a little bit thicker than what was in here. So I'm hoping this will sit as it needs to. We got some little feeties here, so that may actually help us with that. So before we get that in, we're going to again put the ZIF connector back in. Now with this one, it's not a slide, it's a flip up, flip down, so there we go. And again, give it a tug. We are sufficiently held into place there. And then we do need to remember to put in that button there. Flip this around. Yep. First one is in. The first transport is away. Hooray! The first transport is away. Second transport is away. And we will get the last screw down below there. And we can reconnect the screen and getting it all buttoned up. Now we need to get the buttons back in the face here. In the face! And they are just indexed to go in the way they need to. There's that. And first things first is we do need to reconnect the screen. Oh, actually, I almost forgot. Actually, I did forget. I hate when people say I almost forgot when they actually did forget. I do need to reconnect the Wi-Fi antenna to the board. That guy right there. And it just pushes right back into place once you get it centered on you. There we go. Now we can go ahead and get the screen reattached. or at least the connector reattached. Put that underneath there. And we're going to flip the chassis back together this way. That way we don't have any issue with like buttons falling out of the face. And we are going to apply a small amount of pressure. Oh, we lost a button. Button. Who had the button? That button there needs to go right there. Okay, I'm glad that I saw that because that could have provided some issues. And we're going to slowly just walk our way around here. That's exactly what I want to hear. Just, you know, not cracking, but snaps. And I'm going to just put the 2 screws in the side. I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to see what happens. Because the worst thing about projects like this is going ahead and getting it all back together and finding out, oh yeah, it didn't work. See, like right here, that button is way loose. There's something missing under there that I need to double check. Like the rubber dealio fell out of there. But in the meantime, we're going to plug in our USB-C charger and see what happens down below. That's a red light. Come on, Roxanne. You can do it. Yeah, I definitely need to check that up top because that's the power button. That's a great sign. No cartridge inserted, which is fine. What happens now when I disconnect power? Yes, it is working, so it was just the battery. Let's go ahead, let's wrap things up. Got to admit, I am thrilled to get this up and running now. Now, I'm a bit disappointed that it was such a pain in the rear end to get my hands on a battery. Evercade, Blaze Entertainment, just make these available, please. This is not a difficult part swap at all. All you need is a Phillips head screwdriver and you are in the system. Now, I do also have the Evercade Versus, which if you haven't checked out yet, I've done a full-blown unboxing review in the upper corner. Make sure you go ahead and check that out. And this is great if I want to go ahead and play on my television. But this allows me to go ahead and play on the go. Now, I do have the HyperMegaTech Super Pocket, and as you can see, this has a much brighter and larger display. This a little bit more ergonomic, you know, more like a Game Boy here versus this, you know, kind of split the difference between a, well, it's a little bit smaller than a Switch Lite, I would say. But absolutely thrilled. I mean, in the end, if I would have just been powering through and swapping out that battery, 15 minutes at most. So very simple repair to go ahead and do. I, again, just wish that it was something that Evercade and Blaze Entertainment would make it a little bit easier for people to go ahead and get their hands on those replacement batteries. Now, hopefully they'll see this and know that people have a desire to do it and see how easy this is. Now, one of the other things too, if you do have an Evercade system or one of the Versus or the HyperMegaTech Super Pocket, make sure you clean and maintain your games. I've recently come out with this here. This is a 3D printed system and games cleaner. All that you do, you insert it into the system a couple times, remove it, and it removes any built up, you know, dust, dirt, debris, carbon. And the great thing about this, there's no adhesives on here. There's no solvents you need to use. It's all the materials that I've designed this out of, and they're pretty cheap too. I'll have a link down below to where you can pick one of these up through my website. But I am really looking forward to playing this. I am glad that after over a year now, I'm able to do so, and we're going to play some Earthworm Jim. Now, if you do want to check out some of the other videos that we've done talking about the Evercade Versus, the HyperMegaTech Super Pocket, more, I will have those linked in the upper right-hand corner. I'm sure you'll find something here you're going to like.